they're going fast, they're gonna go straight off the track, but this is painful. Hoffman's in here, so we already know who's gonna win. While everything is certainly bigger in Texas, this goes to the race facility we're at today. 3.4 miles is the Circuit of the Americas, and unfortunately also goes with the number of problems that we are having today with our broadcast as well. We are working to get those fixed for you. I'm Miller Empel. Al Kozlowski will be beside me in the commentary booth hopefully later tonight with Rob Melnick. Still trying to work out some technical kinks behind the cameras for today's race. We are going to be at the cutaway here soon, but hopefully we'll be talking to you as well later on in tonight's race. And welcome to the Circuit of the Americas. Glad to have you with us here for another race of the ISCA Stock Car Association. Currently got 9 cars on the track. First couple laps have been almost completely green. One car did go off at turn 1. That was Kenny Powell. He has meanwhile got himself all sorted. And so far, no further incidents. Nolan Rebel joining you in the booth with Al Kozlowski, who's sitting beside me.
No, sitting here watching this event, watching these guys. This is a very long track, and just watching some of these turns. I've got it on my blimp mode here, so the excitement is basically non-existent. We've got like a follow the leader. It's like everybody's heading to the same destination, and they're just right now watching Brian Johnson in that 4 machine as he leads second place, Clayton Hoffman.
At the moment, first and second are your closest runners out there on the track. You've also got 6th and 7th that are close. They've actually swapped hands this past lap. Robert Patgill getting past Randy Drumhill. We'll touch back on that in a little bit as Brian Johnson and Clayton Hoffman both still going so far so clean between them. Let's take a look back, if we can, though, at how the position for 7th place swapped hands here. It looks as though Drumhill just ran a bit too deep into turn number 1, locked up that left front tire. That opened the door for Patgill to just sweep right through.
Yeah, the only incidents we're going to see here tonight, Nolan, are going to be off-track incidents. I mean, we may see a couple guys getting loose, maybe the occasional contact from another car here. But other than that, these guys are pretty spaced out. It looks like the only closest battle is for 1st and 2nd right now.
Hoffman and Johnson are 2 of the faster drivers we got going out here today. In fact, for themselves in qualifying, Brian Johnson was on the pole by a solid 2 seconds, almost exactly, over Greg Wyszynski. So Johnson is definitely the man to beat tonight. But Clayton Hoffman already has a couple wins under his belt in the iRacing A Open Series, and he is certainly trying to run down that number 4 car. It's going to be one of those fights that ends up stretching out towards that first pit window.
Well, let's take a ride along with 2nd place, Clayton Hoffman, and just watch these turns so everybody can get the first-hand experience of what these guys are going through. Of course, they won't be able to experience the uphills and downhills that this track has to exhibit for these drivers, but you'll be able to tell the line that you probably should run here and see how this is going to play out. So let's watch Clayton Hoffman. As he comes through those S's there a little bit, that's about the roughest you get. There are some very sharp left-hand turns here. He'll come through here, and he's going to have to slow down for another left turn. It's a very sharp. His steering wheel is almost completely around. He'll get up to speed here. We'll have to slow down again, and we're going to be making another very sharp left-hand turn as he comes in now. Most of the time he is slowing down and getting into first gear around these corners. You want to stay off those turtles. That'll be the red and white bumps on the side of the track there. It doesn't hurt you that bad, but there is some hidden yellow turtles in there that will tear apart your suspension. So we'll see if we can spot one of those here. Point them out. If you look, if you get close enough here, in these turns, if you look in there, there'll be a yellow stopper that kind of sticks off the track quite a bit, and that's one you do not want to hit because that will tear apart the front end of your car.
Brian Johns with a big sideways moment there through turns, I believe that was turn 18 there, the massive wrong left or right hander we just saw there. So a 4 car already stepping the back end out. Tires clearly not terribly pleased with him. Down for this final hairpin, though. Hoffman can get a good run on here. He could potentially have a run at Johnson up towards turn number 1. Don't think he's going to get it, though.
Yeah, the big issue is they're using up their equipment. They're using up their brakes, the tires. These guys are, turning 2 minute 18-second laps at this track, which is extremely well. But it means they're going almost 3.5 miles in a little over 2 minutes.
Now, this is the longest circuit we got on the NASCAR calendar today. It is, of course, 3.4 miles long. That's almost a whole mile longer than the second longest track, Talladega Super Speedway. It is also one of the longest road courses in the United States of America as well, and one of the most famous ones as well. Only constructed in 2012, but since then it has hosted the Formula One United States Grand Prix consistently from 2012 onward. Of course, before that, the event was held at tracks at Watkins Glen, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Long Beach, and in fact others. So it's a very famous venue, but it's still a relatively new one considering other tracks out there, Al, that have been standing for almost a century now.
Yeah, it might be fun for like an Indy car. I could see maybe motorcycles racing on this track, maybe some high-powered go-karts, but I am not too impressed with having our cup cars on this track. I don't think it makes it that exciting of a race for everybody to watch. I don't think the drivers would disagree about it. It's probably not that fun to drive either.
I clearly didn't see the Coca-Cola NASCAR race because that race was actually fairly entertaining. It's all about the field size at a track like this, and well, unfortunately, like I said, with it's now only 8 cars, as Kenny Powell has had some technical difficulties, just like us, as a matter of fact, and he is now out of the race. It's kind of a similar situation here. It's a very single file, very processional race, especially in this final sector of the racetrack. And I think you put it perfectly out there while we were off air. This track over here, it does look like a glorified go-kart track.
Yeah, I can imagine seeing, motorcycles racing on this track. That'd be exciting. I have yet to see, and I've heard rumors that they have ran Indy cars on this track. And they did fairly well, which I could see that because an Indy car is lowered the track, so that means they would stick a lot easier than these cars that sit up quite a bit here.
A couple times actually. Ran here in 2018 and 19.
I don't know what our history is going to be to stay with cup cars on this track. I'd be interested to see the trucks race on this track. I think the trucks would handle a lot better than these cup cars are. That's just a heavy piece of equipment to push around this track.
Swap for the third position. Greg Wyszynski has just put himself up in front of Chris Johnson to the run down to turn number 1. The 48 car, nothing on the defensive for the number 2 car. Looks like Wyszynski might have just gotten a good run off the final corner. Take a look back at it now. That is exactly the case. Johnson ran really wide on the exit of that final corner. Might have gotten a slowdown penalty as well because he ran really wide to the second to last corner as well.
I think these guys in the first and second place are really beating up their equipment. I'm watching Clayton Hoffman in that 92 machine. He's not only hit one of those yellow turtles, but he's hit like 2 or 3 of them in S's. So, I mean, he's really tearing apart the suspension on the front end of his car.
It's worth noting, though, these suspensions on these cars are pretty tough here, so they can handle a few good knocks from those sausage curves on the inside there. Of course, the real difficulty is going to be if he tries to launch his car 4 wheels over them. I mean, if these cars can end up bouncing over the curves, though, at Montreal, at the Circuit Jean Villeneuve, which those curves are admittedly about twice as high as these ones are, I'm pretty sure they can handle these ones just fine. Those curves are really more in place for GT and open wheel cars. If you hit one of those cars, oh boy, you are in a world of hurt.
I just see Clayton. I'm watching Clayton Hoffman again, and as he is just, I've never seen that steering wheel turn so much. I just watched the tape on his car, and it's almost, going all the way down to the shifter at one point to the right, and all the way down to almost one part of his seat on his left. I mean, he is really turning this car. So this car is not handling the way he wants it to, but he is managing to get around this track still at a consistent 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Hoffman closes in so much of this last sector of the racetrack here. He was 1.10 when he ended that final sector. Only 6/10 now. Closed in about half a second there in just those 5 or 6 corners alone. So Hoffman has got speed at this final sector. He's just got to get down that first sector. That's what Brian Johnson starts to pull away. They mentioned these guys are turning up their equipment. I think tire strategy, speaking of which, is going to be more to play here than the fuel strategy. Of course, you can run about 23 laps in the fuel window here. That's a good 2/3 of the race. I think tires are going to be a much bigger question here at this facility.
Nolan, let's go ahead and let's go to let's see if we can get a camera to get kind of above these cars as they drive around this track. I think the blimp camera would help us the best here. Let's go ahead and see if we can find a camera that would show the viewers what this track consists of and what these guys are actually going through behind the wheel.
And it'll also show you here just how close this battle for the lead is getting, down to just a 1/4 of a second there. Kenny Powell has re-entered the session, by the way. He is making his way back out onto the racetrack, so we'll keep this battle for the race lead here, though. It's definitely one of the closest battles we've been seeing so far all race long. and already almost a third of the way through this race out, and it is still nice and tight together. It's never really split apart for more than 1.1 seconds. And now Hoffman will have a better drive off of this hairpin corner here in the run down to turn 11.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell where you're at this track. You know, when I first got on this track, there is actually a cut through right there. See that right there, that to the left by the banner there? I was gonna take that as a cut through one time, and can't do that. But you can see how sharp these corners are. I mean, these are almost immediate. I mean, they're not really much of a turn. It's more of a slam on your brakes, turn your steering wheel, and coast around there. And these guys are taking these turns at 50 miles an hour. So they have got some tremendous skill going on. I try to run this track, and I'm roughly about 10 seconds slower than these guys, which 10 seconds is a whole lot when you get to knocking down these laps.
Hoffman taking the tighter line. Johnson's loose around the outside line here of turn 18. Hoffman's going to try to look for a spot here. Look at Johnson really stepping the back end out now, trying to fend him off as they come through turn 19. Down for the final corner at turn number 20 here. Can Hoffman get the drive he needs off of this final corner to get a run on Brian Johnson? We'll have to wait and see here. Johnson on the throttle, stepping the back end now. So is Hoffman. So onto the front straightaway for what will now be the 7th, leading on to the 8th time today. And now Clayton Hoffman trying to run down Brian Johnson. What can he do here? Can he get it done? Still not close enough into turn 1.
Yeah, that turn 1 is dramatic. It almost looks like there's quite a bit of banking there, and there is not. As we watched when we were in InCar, this is what they call the S's that's coming through here, and it's looking at it now, they're more far apart than they were inside the car to me. I mean, it felt like you were on top of those one after another here. There goes the corner, and I'd make a sharp left and just skip all this stuff and see if I can bring up some time, but you get penalized for doing that. Here we go. As we come back around, another set of S's here. And we're kind of, I do believe we're kind of maybe going up an incline.
Clayton Hoffman had to check out big time there to avoid running over Brian Johnson. Smoked the left front tire on the 92 car. Otherwise, would have slammed through the back of him as they go over the crest, back down the hill for the braking zone. That's cost Hoffman a lot of time up to Brian Johnson.
As we're just now seeing second or third, fourth, fifth coming into view there. They're just on that other stretch of road here. This track is just, it's humongous. I mean, it's just astronomically huge. Oh, Hoffman is not letting that little bit of hiccup hinder him at all. He is catching back up at Brian and hoping that he can put enough pressure on Brian to make him use up his equipment and just hit the corner wrong enough to spin around. The problem is he going to spin out of Hoffman's direction or right into it? There we go. That cost right there. Here we go, side by side. Here we go, Nolan.
Outside of turn 18, Hoffman will be able to make that pass work for the race lead. Hoffman takes him on the outside, but maybe not for long. Got Brian Johnson trying to fight the outside line. Now he's offline for turn 19, but he pulls ahead and clears Clayton Hoffman by the time they get to the final corner. Hoffman trying to dive it back on the inside, but Johnson cuts it in, chops the nose, and Brian Johnson holds on to the race lead for now. Brilliant bit of driving there for the Ford car.
Yeah, it all that matters on where you can pass. I mean, these guys don't leave much of a window. There's only certain areas of this track where you can almost make a very clean pass. There goes both of them sideways a little bit there. Here we come in these S's. Let's see how this is going to work. Oh, Clayton Hoffman really gets the lead on that one.
Hoffman will take it from turns 2 to 3. Brian Johnson is now going to have to fall back and maybe reset this one. Potentially come in for an undercut, get that tire advantage on Hoffman. I have to see how he wants to judge that one so far. We've seen tire strategies play out in these road course races before, but I have to see if it's going to be a similar situation here today. Or, well, first off, Brian Johnson's got to make sure that he is close enough to Clayton Hoffman that an undercut would even work out for him. I'll tell you what.
A little bit of smoke right there coming off of Hoffman's car. That's going to catch up to him there. That's a break.
while we watch Brian Johnson ride on board with trying to catch the Clayton Hoffman, let's ride on board with Brian Johnson for about a lap or so. And we'll take a quick step away from the microphones, and we'll be back in just a few moments. Change up for the lead. Clayton Hoffman with the big mistake at turn number 1, and that allows Brian Johnson back through to the point. Hoffman just a bit too deep on the brakes there into turn 1. A very easy to mistake. Wow. English is not my strong suit today. A very easy mistake to make, Al. I believe some minor technical difficulties with Mr. Husky.
Hello.
I can. There we go.
This thing is going crazy today, Nolan. Yeah, we're going to see about 2 more laps, maybe 3 laps. Everybody's going to start pitting, and I think Clayton Hoffman is waiting. He can't wait to pull that thing on pit road. He abused them tires trying to get that lead away from Brian.
Well, Brian's trying to pull away as well, and it's abusing his tires as well. Brian Johnson just overcooked that hairpin corner a little bit too much. And the run on turn 11, Hoffman will have the run on him. Won't be enough to overtake him for the lead.
Yeah, not only have they used up their tires, but you remember their fuel run is down. I mean, they're down to probably a little more than half a tank in that thing, so the rear end is quite a bit lighter.
Oh, you bet it is. It's definitely going to be a lot lighter as well. As Hoffman now stepping out the back end, return number 13. Good grief, this is just such a tight facility here. These next few corners, turns 13 really through 18, are some of the most challenging corners in North American racing when it comes to more clinical corners. You can definitely tell they're more cookie cutter corners, I guess is a good way to put them. Very clinical, very precise. It's definitely not a place that you often see cars going side by side through.
I have no idea who would have designed this, Nolan. I mean, did somebody just get out there and get bored and said, here's what we're going to do, and they do a whole bunch of crazy lines? Because if you look at this track, just on like a stick figure, it looks, there's like a huge straightaway and then a very sharp turn and then another little bit, and then, I mean, they just designed this thing crazy. I don't understand what the philosophy is. It's definitely unique. There's definitely not another track like this out there.
Well, I can tell you who designed it, actually. The name of that man is Herman Tilke, believe it or not. This is one of his later works before, of course, he produced the rubbish of trash that is the Salciato drone, a track that we pretend does not exist in the world of motorsport because, good grief, that track is just, it's a new level of terrible, put it at that. But he did actually take inspiration from a lot of other tracks that he's actually made here, Al. I mean, that long straightaway, it's a very Tilke thing to do with a very hard brake zone at the very end of the corner. Turns 16, 17, and 18. That's actually reminiscent of another track design that's very, very popular among open wheel racing fans, particularly Formula One. It's the turn 8 from the Turkish Formula One circuit that he cloned there. And you'll notice as well, turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're actually almost direct clones of the Maggots and Beckett complex from Silverstone over in Great Britain.
Nolan, am I seeing stuff, or did I just see a whole flock of birds?
I think you did. There are birds that sometimes, come to play out around this racetrack. Battle for the lead, though, starting to close in as well. Brian Johnson is trying to fend off Hoffman. Hoffman is a lot closer this time by than he was 1 lap ago.
On pit strategy, they cooked him right there. They're both getting synchronized spinning there.
Hoffman trying to go through for turn 15. Can he get around the outside line? This is going to be the big question here. John's trying to fight the inside line. Hoffman's going to ease off and going to try to get a run. He's going to go around the outside here of turns 16, 17, and 18. Trying to fight the outside line. Oh, but he's off the track. He can't go too far, but he gets a slowdown penalty. Gets it back on. Does not exceed his position. Still trying to get that hammer down to the exit of turn 18. And Brian Johnson reeling back into the exit through 19. The answer is no. Clayton Hoffman maintains the race lead, and looks like we got another pass with the lead. Hoffman back to the front. Brian Johnson still trying to close him from behind, but I don't think it'll be really successful on that 4-car's part.
As we look at these guys, they're now about 6 seconds slower than they were the first quarter of this race, but they're coming. They should be pitting any time now. I can't believe they didn't pit this last time by.
Well, the end of this lap here, Al, marks halfway, so they might be trying to stretch it out to the halfway point to make sure they're not off cycle for that second half of the race. If you can get your tires through the first half, it's only going to be better every lap you go on. Remember, fuel window as well is about 23 laps-ish, kind of around that area, so we're about 6-7 laps or so off the fuel window as well. Some of these guys might be trying to run that fuel out to the end.
Well, if I'm first or second, Nolan, I might try that. I don't know. This is going to be a very weird pit strategy here. You only lose 13 seconds, which is nothing compared to the 2 minutes and 18-second average lap times you turn around this track. So,
but to be fair, they have time to do it. These guys have got 21 seconds back to Greg Wyszynski in the third position. So if they want to run that timeout, they got enough room to do it. Brian Johnson runs really deep, though, through turn 10, and that is just really compromising his run down towards 12.
Yeah, let's tell them where pit road entrance is, because this is another sneaky thing that you got to watch for.
One of the things that you know where it is if you're looking for, but it can kind of fly up on you in a hurry through turn 19 if you aren't really too careful about it.
Yeah, it's the last turn before you get into the front stretch there.
They're going to come through turn 18 here, and we will see if these guys manage to get in there all safe and sound. Clayton Hoffman is going to take it through turn number 19. Going to run a bit too deep, though. That bit of stretch there, that track right there on the left side, that's pit road, and Hoffman is going for it. Johnson in just behind. So Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson both down for their first stops on the day, right at the halfway point.
And they come out that corner at about 120 miles an hour, strolling down to, I think, 35 miles an hour. That has got to be the longest 35 mile an hour stretch of this track that you can imagine. Look at how tight those little pits are right there. It's everybody's like stacked on top of each other. It's amazing.
Wyszynski stays out for another lap. He will inherit the race lead ahead of Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson. So will Chris Johnson and Wayne Grassi. So those three drivers so far all electing to stay out so far and take an extra lap on this stint. Hoffman and Johnson both out of pit lane with a sizable gap in between them. And they're still going to be well clear of third and fourth place. So they're not going to have to really worry about, fourth and fifth just behind them as they both exit pit road. And that's a done deal then for your two net race leaders. Randy Drumhiller comes down pit road this time by, I believe, the last driver on the lead lap to do so. Check that the last driver on the lead lap is Robert Pattengale. He is running in the 7th position at the moment. He is going to be the last driver on the lead lap that needs to come down pit lane. Paul Olsen 1 lap down, Powell 3 laps down, as he came in following his technical difficulties. So let's see if Pattengale comes down this time by then.
I'm waiting to see the time difference between Greg Wyszynski and Clayton Hoffman. I do believe that Pattengale is going to be pitting this time by. I see a signal from his crew. Clayton Hoffman is burning them brakes up again.
The closer battle is for 4th and 5th at the moment. Chris Johnson and Wayne Grassi have been steadily closing in. Well, I say that they've just split up a big way. Wayne Grassi kind of overshot the turn 11 hairpin, but he was closing in significantly down to about half a second through that first sector from turns 2 all the way down to 9.
Before that pit with Brian Johnson and Clayton Hoffman, Greg Wyszynski was roughly about 21 seconds behind them in third. So if he is, he's right in front of him. He's not even remotely close enough. I was thinking that he can maybe pit and gain him some positions.
No, not nearly close enough. I mean, if Kenny Powell and Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson are definitely both going to cycle back through to the race lead. There's no doubt about that one. There's just not nearly enough time on that Greg Wyszynski had. He would have had to make 20 seconds on this lap to make it work, and he is still staying out there. So Wyszynski is definitely going long on this stop. Now, what's going to happen in the battle for 4th and 5th here? Chris Johnson and Wayne Grassi, do they elect to come in this lap?
Well, let's take a peek. Let's watch them.
Coming through 19 now. Johnson comes down pit road. Grassi follows. So, indeed, the battle for 4th and 5th, both down pit road. Johnson smoking the right front this time as he kind of slid a little bit wide to the entry. But apart from that, no hard, no foul on the number 48.
Knowing those garage area on pit road here has to be the nicest garage area that our cup cars are ever going to be at. I mean, these are completely fancy brick, fancy garage doors. I mean, this thing is just looks like a Taj Mahal compared to what we're used to seeing. Just the generic cookie cutter garages. This has got suites on top of these garages. It's a phenomenal looking facility.
Welcome to an FIA Grade 1, Grade A facility. This track was originally designed not to run NASCAR, but to run Formula One, and it had to meet the Grade A regulations. And Tilke decided, well, Tilke's always had a bit of a design-ish flair to him. He's always one of those guys that says, you know what, bigger is better, and he definitely set the benchmark for new racing facilities. You know, the stalls we usually see over at Watkins Glen or Lime Rock Park, it's just these little kind of, you know, shacks that these guys work out of, Al. That is what Formula One tracks even used to have up until 1999, when the guy that designed this track designed the Malaysia International Circuit, and that really set the bar for what a track could and should be. And all of his facilities have been extremely extravagant ever since.
Yeah, definitely there is some money there. I would dare to take a stab at how much this facility cost to build. I mean, I would guess upwards to $70-80 million.
Also visited. Oh, you're a bit off there, Al. Approximately $400 million.
Holy mo! Well, they must have a lot of fiber optics in this. I couldn't imagine costing that much. But you know, you are looking at it's a 3-mile track, which was probably, how many acres is that? Nolan, can you check on that?
I will take a look at this here. I know that approximately 1,700 people were used to create the circuit. I'm kind of looking at this over here now. I will get back to you on that one, Al. I'll do some digging.
I'd hate to guess because I was off. I was only 20% of the cost of actually building this track, so I'd hate to say, oh, there's probably 120 acres, and it's probably 300 acres, you know?
Roughly 1,500 acres is what
there we go.
Track facilities take up in total. What did you guess again?
I am 20% off. I'm 20% off on everything I guessed tonight. That's tremendous. That's a lot of acreage right there. Somebody gave up a lot, but this is in Texas, and you know what they say about Texas.
Everything is bigger in Texas. Again, including the technical difficulties that I've been suffering throughout the course of the night. Big apologies for that as well. By the way, ATVO kind of shot our producer in the foot when they released a new update today, and he's been struggling to work with it ever since. Doing a great job, though, down there behind the cameras, I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, 1,500 acres this track sits on, and keep in mind as well, a lot of those acres are man-made as well. They literally moved the ground underneath this track just to provide some of the elevation change, most notably the 50-foot rise up from the start-finish line up to turn number 1 before there's another very steep drop immediately after. That's what I love about this track, is some of the elevation changes you can see in this place.
There's definitely different configurations. There must be different ways you can run this track. We're watching those fancy red, white, and blue lines. There's a sharp left right there. I'm watching, I think, Rossi, and there's a sharp left that you can cut across, or you can keep following the track like the drivers are doing tonight. So there's different configurations they can run, most definitely. I've never seen anybody run at this track, and I don't think, to me, it would be a track that would be very exciting watching it live, because it looks like the Indy in Indianapolis, or you only have certain parts of the track where you're going to catch certain action. If you're not on, there's no way to catch the whole race. I mean, not unless you had a TV in front of you. And if you're gonna have a TV at the racetrack, you might as well stay at home and save yourself $500-600.
Well, fun fact, they actually do have TVs at the racetracks, and most F1 facilities, they will actually have televisions set up in front of all the grandstands, so you can keep an eye on all the action going on around the track, even if you don't have one. So they got you covered on that front there.
Yeah, Nolan, but why in the world would you spend, like I said, $500-600 to go and watch TV out in the open, in the heat, when you can stay at home, sit in your recliner, and watch a race in some air conditioning?
It's the atmosphere. It's so much different being actually at the track, and I can say as somebody that has been at actual races before, it's just a whole different environment. To actually be there, be involved with it. It just feels so much more energetic. Kind of touching back on what you said, actually, kind of going back to the whole configurations on the track. Well, Brian Johnson's just going back to 2 axis roads. Those are different track configurations here, and I've actually run all three layouts that you can run here tonight. We're running the Grand Prix layout, the most commonly used layout. There's also, I believe, the West layout is one where that first cutoff gets to. It cuts off most of the straightaway and the last part of the first sector from about turn 7 on to 11. You kind of cut in right before the go-kart section, I guess we can call it. And then, of course, you have that axle just up to the front of it. That is for a club course. I believe that's the East layout. And that cuts out the last half of the very long straightaway and leaves in 7 through 11. So, yeah, 3 different configurations that you can run here today.
What part of Texas is this? Is it Central Texas or
Austin,
Northern?
actually.
It's by Austin?
Yeah, wherever Austin is. I don't know. I don't know where
Well, I tell you, Austin, Texas is a state that you feel like you get in and it feels like you never get out of it. I mean, it just feels like it's so big trying to drive through that. I've been through that state several times, and I've actually been to the Texas race here, but not this racetrack. This might be one I'm going to have to put on my calendar. I highly doubt it's going to be on my calendar because I don't know what the longevity is. If this track is on the NASCAR schedule for more than 2 or 3 years, I'd be shocked.
Hey, money can talk for sure. Looking at the location of Austin, Texas, yeah, about Central Texas, more down, I'd say towards kind of the southeast, kind of in that area. Looks like it's just a little ways northwest of Houston and just south of Dallas along Route 35. So I think that'll give you your answer right there.
Well, I'm sad. I know I absolutely love driving the Texas track, the other Texas track here. This one, not so much.
Fort Worth. Yeah, the Texas Motor Speedway down at Fort Worth is definitely its own very unique facility, isn't it? That is a track that I think has a lot of.
Oh, you broke up on us, Nolan. You must be still having that technical difficulty.
Most likely.
Well, the lead sure has stretched out here a little bit. Clayton Hoffman is at a 7-second gap between him and Brian Johnson. So I don't know if that's recoverable. I think that's where we're going to run this thing. And we've got roughly about 13 laps left of this.
Just about 13 laps or so left to go within that ballpark. It's a fair assessment, to say the least. It's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. I mean, a lot of the battles are definitely really split apart. Let's kind of take a rundown here through the order so far. I got Clayton Hoffman out there in the lead by 8.2 seconds. Brian Johnson sits in the second position with Greg Wyszynski in third. 38 seconds behind just Brian Johnson. Another 14 seconds back from Wyszynski is Chris Johnson. 5 seconds behind him is Wayne Grossi. Those are now the 2 closest drivers he got out there on the racetrack, 4th and 5th place. Behind Grossi, 42 seconds back to Randy Drumhiller before finally, 25 more seconds later, you get the last car on the lead lap, Robert Pattengale. For their Polos and Kenny Powell, both sit laps down. So with the race continuing to kind of reach into the closing stages here, let's take another little bit of a break here. Let's ride on board this time with Wayne Grossi, see if he can reel in any more time here with Chris Johnson. We'll be right back. 5 laps remaining. Clayton Hoffman still leads. Brian Johnson is slowly trying to crawl the gap in, hovering at about the low 7-second range, high 6-second range. I don't think Allen is going to be able to get close enough to make it through to the end.
Yeah, this is during that break we had there, we did a little bit of research and we discovered that no one's figured it out that we're about 115 miles total that these drivers are going to race tonight. So roughly right about now, they've got about 15 of that left. So they've already turned about 100 miles on this track tonight in the 30 laps they've ran here. A little over 100 maybe. This is a demanding track. I mean, I don't take anything away from these guys, and I don't want to take anything away from the track. It's probably a phenomenal track for IndyCar. But to me, I always base my predictions on the track and my opinions on the track on the fan's view. And as a fan, I'm looking at this track, and I personally do not like a road course with our Cup cars at it. So that's why I make the comments I do about this track. It's an astoundingly crazy facility. The size, the beauty of it, and everything is amazing. However, I do not think I would want to go to this track and watch a race at it. IndyCar included, because I think you can only see a quick portion of the race, because you can't be watching this whole track all the time like you can most circle tracks. And that's my point of view.
So 5 to go. Hoffman still leads. Brian Johnson, as we mentioned before, is just over 7 seconds behind. So it's still looking like Clayton Hoffman is out in the lead. Johnson second, Wachinski third, Chris Johnson, in fourth, Grossi fifth, Drumhill is sixth, Pangill seventh, Olsen currently in pit road in eighth, and Kenny Powell rounds out the 9-car field for tonight's race. It has been, a relatively clean race, all things considered. We haven't really had any really major incidents, certainly no car-to-car contact incidents, which is, of course, always what you want to see at a race like this.
Well, put this into perspective. Brian Johnson is only 6 seconds behind leader Clayton Hoffman. Third place is almost half a track away from Clayton Hoffman. Clayton Hoffman is a half a track away from third place. So if this was to go green for another probably 20 laps, there would only be 2 cars on the lead lap. Right now, as we sit, there's 6 cars on the lead lap, and we're looking like he's catching Randy Drumhiller, the leader is.
He's certainly going to pass me within the next couple of laps or so. Drumhiller now a full 2 minutes and 17 seconds behind your race leader from the last time we crossed the line. That's only about another 5-6 seconds back to your overall race leader, Clayton Hoffman, who has at this point led the most laps on the day as well. So Hoffman is no doubt going to make quick work here of that 44 car, and then that's going to be maybe Kenny Powell, but I think apart from that, that's going to be about all the lap traffic we're going to be seeing throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, I've raced this race one time, and I've done exactly what Robert Pattingale did. I just let them by, because at this point, you're just turning laps. This is like you're driving to Walmart, and making a couple sharp turns here, and you're cutting through a neighborhood. You're just taking your time and staying on the track, because you can get penalized for taking the car off the track. If you take the car off the track, I think you get 1 or 2 points. When you get 17 penalty points, you have to do what's called a drive-through down pit road. And that could cost you roughly about 30 seconds. And that's pretty huge here. You get too many of those. Now, the off-track incident points will come as we're watching the leader right now. He can get on those rumble strips, the red and white split lines there. He can get on those just fine. But if he gets onto that grass too much, he's going to get a penalty. If you get onto that solid red coming into the turns right there, to the right of the leader, that's a penalty. You can't go off the track too far. Now, he can go off the track a little bit. I think you can even maybe graze a little bit of the grass, but if you go too far into the grass coming out of these turns or entering these turns, that's a penalty.
Well, not to mention, it's not just something that's going to be like one incident point. It's also could potentially be a slowdown penalty. Turn 19 is a great example of that, actually. You could see drivers running way too deep at turn 19. That's what Indy cars actually do on regular when they're racing here. But in iRacing, that is going to be a solid 3-4 second slowdown penalty that you're going to have to serve on that front straightaway or coming through that final corner.
Yeah, like that Geico, you're seeing that Geico sign right there. In a race I was in last night, I missed one of those S's and went straight through that Geico area there, and that was a 20-second hold. I had to slow down for 20 seconds, which is humongous. When you're talking about these guys are running 2 minutes and 18 seconds. I mean, they've got 2 minutes to catch me, and I'll be a lap down. So too many of those penalties, you get 5 of those in a row, you'll be a lap down, no time flat.
2.5 laps left remaining.
That last corner we went by, Nolan, I noticed something pretty interesting. Not only is the Monster Energy logo there, but let's keep an eye when they get back around it. There is what I believe looks like a sand trap in the back end there. That must be if your brakes give out on that straightaway and you can't slow it down, you'll get caught up in that sand. And they usually have tracks like that. I mean, sand traps like that at the last part of a drag race. You know, at a drag strip, they'll have the sand traps there that the cars will just sink right down into them and almost give them a complete stop.
They're a very regular sight to see those sorts of gravel or sand traps on road courses. You'll see them in just about every single road course that exists in the racing world. Lime Rock Park, of course, is a great exception to this rule. I believe Sonoma has a couple of soft spots as well there, but Watkins Glen is a great other cup track where there are quite a few sand traps put out in that one, as well as tarmac runoff, which both tarmac and sand traps stop cars a heck of a lot quicker than grass, which actually, having done the calculations, somebody else, I believe it was Josh Ravel that did the calculations. It was WTF1 that did the calculations on stopping forces. Grass can only stop a car. Okay, so here's the math they figured out. If you lock your brakes up on grass, it's going to take you 3 times longer to stop than if you were stopping on a tarmac surface.
Yeah, so when we're watching, I'm in blimp mode, and I'm watching Clayton Hoffman, the leader right now, and I see all the tan, which kind of looks like sand. That, to me, is a sand trap. See the Geico to the left of him there? Behind that Geico sign, that's a sand trap. It's typically, if you lose control and you go into that sand, it's to prevent you from hitting maybe the barrier walls or something.
Or to slow you down so you don't hurt yourself when you do hit them.
So here we are. He's coming down the stretch here, and there's a lot of straightaway there, and you get a lot of speed coming through that. And I believe this is the one that's got the Monster Energy logo here. If you look to the right, way back in the field there's a big square piece of sand trap. So that must mean that if your brakes give out and you can't make that turn, you'll go into that sand trap and pretty much save you. You're probably still going to hit the barrier, but you're not going to hit it at a force of 170 miles an hour.
Kind of looking at the point standings here in the today. We have not really talked about those a lot here today as well, but Clayton Hoffman still leads, 20 points now ahead of Kenny Powell. 4 points back from him is Brian Johnson. He is currently tied with Wayne Grossi for the final podium position. 7 points back from Wayne Grossi is another tie for 5th and 6th between Chris Johnson and Greg Wyszynski. Craig Johnson sits in 7th with 295 points. Brandon Drumhiller is in 8th. Olsen 9th. Gilgok is in 10th. Chris Severa 11th. Cecil Keith, Kyle Labrie, and Eric Kling round out the last of the drivers in the field for what has been only so far 15 total points paying positions here for the second season of the Ironton Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series for 2021. Hopefully we'll be seeing that number grow for season 3 here, Al.
I absolutely do, and I'm glad you mentioned that ButtKicker. As we come to our last lap here, it looks like Nolan, but I wanted to give a big shout out to ButtKicker. I used my ButtKicker on this track, and oh my goodness, I mean, the only thing that got satisfaction on running this track was because of the ButtKicker. I mean, that thing was going off like crazy, and it helped me a lot in knowing where the rumble strips were at, if I was going off track, if I was pushing too much. It helped me dramatically be able to get more of an understanding on my braking points in this track. So if you're having a hard time with any kind of a road course or any kind of an oval where you don't know your braking points or you have to use your brakes, you'll want to definitely invest in the ButtKicker. And you can go to buttkicker.com, and they've got, I think, 2 or 3 different models, but it's well worth the money. So if you haven't got one yet, you may want to go and check that out. And if you use ISCA, I believe it's ISCA 20. That's a discount coupon code that you can use and get 20% off your purchase. And you definitely want to. It's an investment that you will not regret whatsoever. If you have a theater, an entertainment theater room, you can also get a butt kicker system to put underneath your theater seating or your recliner, your couch, or whatever, and it will bring you or give you an immersion like you're in the movies. And I'm going to be purchasing one of those here real soon as I get my theater room done, because I just can't wait to use it.
Down the back straightaway for the final time today. Just now coming through that final hairpin, or one of the final hairpins up through here. The battle for 4th and 5th, the closest battle we got at the moment on track. So let's take a look at that. We'll check in with Hoffman here in just a couple of minutes. So for the moment, the 7 car and the 48 car are looking mighty close out there on the track for the 4th and 5th positions. This will be the final battle we got on the racing surface, currently darting their way through the final, or the first sector of the racetrack for the final time today. Can Chris Johnson, the 48, fend off Wayne Grossi in the 7 car? It's going to be a really difficult challenge for Johnson to do so. Grossi has really been putting on the pressure here in the last several laps. We'll have to see if Chris Johnson will be able to weather that storm. Meanwhile, for Clayton Hoffman, just coming down through turn 19, just one more corner to go for the 92 machine, and Clayton Hoffman will once again sweep the weekend. He is going to take victory at the Circuit of the Americas, winning it out off the final corner. Hoffman in the 92 car once again gets it done.
And congratulations to Clayton Hoffman. And we got second place will be the 4 machine of Brian Johnson. It looks like third is going to be Greg Wachinski. And let's watch the battle between Chris Johnson and Wayne Grossi and see who's going to get 4th and 5th here.
Grossi had a really bad turn 11, and that has severely compromised his run down towards turn 12. So unless he pulls out something really desperate here, Chris Johnson is going to have this battle. Oh,
no!
It's wide!
No! That's going to be a penalty right there. That's going to cost Chris Johnson right there.
That goes through!
No, I think that's a penalty. I almost want to say it's a penalty. Let's see if he slows up at all.
Oh, he's not slowing up. He's gunning for it hard right now. Now he's going to have a penalty. Step with the back end out big time. Johnson trying to hang on to whatever spots he can get here. Grossi finally clears. What drama on the final lap of the race in the battle for the 4th position.
Oh, Chris Johnson goes around. He spins it.
Johnson chokes in the final lap of the race.
Yeah, he got a little bit too much there. He must have burned his equipment up, and Wayne Grossi is going to slide through, and he is easily going to take the 4th position here. And Chris Johnson doesn't have anything to worry about because Randy Drumhiller in 6th is a lap down. 7th is Robert Pattengale, and he is also a lap down. And I don't know how close that battle is between those 2 drivers there. It does not look like it's a close battle at all. So it looks like Randy Drumhiller is going to come in 6th. Robert Pattengale is going to come in 7th. Kenny Powell is going to turn in the top 8. Paul Olson is coming in on 9th.
And that is going to do it for the race here from the Circuit of the Americas. So we'll take a quick break here, and we will be right back with the post-race show in just a few moments.
Welcome back to COTA in Texas. Let's see if we can get some interviews done real quick before we have some technical difficulties here. Let's see if I can get a hold of the driver who finished third in that number 2 machine, Greg Wachinski. Greg Wachinski, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
Sure, Al, how you doing?
Greg, are you about as excited of this thing being over as I am?
Definitely.
Well, congratulations on that third place finish. Briefly run us down on how you felt the night went for you tonight.
It's you just got to take it easy all the way around this track for every single lap. It's just way too easy to lose control of the car or slide off the track. So that's all I did. Just took it easy.
Well, congratulations on that third place finish, Greg. I hate to cut this short, but we've been having some technical difficulties. So before I run out of some time, go ahead and give us a shout out to some sponsors and thank anybody you want. Mike's yours.
First, congratulations to Clayton and Brian. Those guys were a lot faster than me tonight. So, but all the guys at G&G Racing, pretty much it for me. Take care.
Thank you, Greg. Congratulations on your second or your third place. Speaking of second place, let's see if we can get a hold of that number 4 machine. Brian Johnson, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you, Al.
Brian, we had thought during the beginning of this race that you were the man to beat here. What happened? Did the pit strategies maybe throw you off, or give us a quick rundown on what happened to make you lose or get so far behind the leader?
Just that good. Once I got behind, I just try to make up time, and I just burnt my stuff up. That's all. So I made too many mistakes. A couple seconds turned into 8 seconds, turned into 9 seconds. So can't make mistakes here, especially when you're racing somebody like Clayton.
Yeah, we absolutely seen you manhandling that car, and you had some great moments of saves there. So phenomenal wheel man there, Brian. Phenomenal. I don't know if you've heard anything, but we've been having technical difficulties here, so I hate to cut it short. I'd like to be able to chat with you guys a lot longer, but I'm going to have to ask you to go ahead and scream out some sponsorship thanks, and Mike's all yours.
I want to thank Southern Spiral Pipe, ButtKicker, you guys, Al, Nolan, Kenny, and Rob. Thanks for putting this on.
Well, congratulations, Brian, on that second place finish. Phenomenal job tonight. See if I can get a hold of the winner of tonight's race. It'll be Clayton Hoffman. Clayton Hoffman, now Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
I do, sir.
Clayton, what a phenomenal. You just took him to school tonight. I mean, this track and you just met, and you've you put a clinic on tonight. You showed everybody how to do it. There was some moments where we thought your rear end got a little loose on you and we were going to have some problems. But walk us through this race tonight and how you felt you did.
I really haven't had a lot of practice for this track. Most of my practice came today, so I wouldn't say I'm really good at the track yet, but I have made a lot of progress. Got shaved several seconds off my times. Didn't put in a good qualifying effort. Kind of was running late to get here, so I had to kind of just use the first 10 laps as a warm-up, and then after that pit stop, I thought I had it rolling. I had a couple good laps there, and then going through that triple right turn, I just kind of got a little sideways going into it and actually spun out. So collected myself up after that. I had big enough lead over Brian to where I didn't lose it, and I still had a decent lead over him. So I just kind of tried to hit my marks, hit the right line, and try not to overdo it the rest of the race. That was pretty much all there was to it for me.
Well, that's pretty much what you needed to do, brother. Congratulations on your, what is a third or fourth win for Mr. Clayton Hoffman tonight, Nolan?
Well, it was definitely far from the most entertaining race that we saw here at the Circuit of the Americas tonight. Hopefully, though, we'll be getting some more entertainment next week. I believe it's Charlotte coming up next here, Clayton. So what's going to be the plan for you coming into what it should be the longest race on the season?
Charlotte's another mile and a half. It's pretty similar to Atlanta. I had a pretty good Atlanta set, so plan is just to build off that Atlanta set, try to move a lot of things over from that, and try to focus on that long run. Just because these mile and a halves, these cars are pretty easy to drive. We'll have the high downforce 550 horsepower package, and like I said, focus on the long run, focus on green flag pit stops.
Well, I can't wait to see you on that track next week, Clayton, and I might be joining you guys on that race to see if I can get some firsthand experience there. Congratulations on your race win tonight, and you have any sponsors you want to thank tonight?
I'd like to thank Gas and Go Racing team. Thank Kenny Powell. Thank you guys for hosting. Thank ButtKicker. I think it's pretty much all.
Great job. Until next week at Charlotte, Clayton Hoffman is our winner tonight. Congratulations once again. And Nolan, I will see you next week.